Good morning and welcome back to day 3 of Dream Big, Live Bigger. Steve and I want to thank you for being with us for these 3 days. And today we're going to take you into the world of decision and how it's so important moving forward with your creating that future that you truly love and that you want in your life. But I want to go back and just recap day 1 and day 2 real quick. Day 1, we talked all about goals, and we learned that goals are not made to get. Goals are there for us to grow. And really the true gift is who we become in the process of that growing onto our way of that magnificent future that we all want to create. We learned that goals give you direction in life. We talked about ships adrift, right? I mean, if you can imagine a cruise port and you had a big ship in the harbor and you took the captain and the crew off and you just turned the ship on without any direction, if that ship even makes it out of the harbor, it's really a miracle. If it's placed that it does, it's not going to go anywhere. It's going to crash or run aground. So just like the ship, our lives need direction. And we need to tap in and say, this is where we're going. And this is where my decisions are coming from this point on. So it really gives us guidance. Goals gives us guidance in keeping us on that track of where we want to go. And they also give our life purpose. So many of us existence phase. We wake up in the morning, we go to jobs we don't like. We live in a home we don't like, in a city we don't like, and we just go day after day. It becomes our comfort zone. It becomes the box we live in or that hamster wheel. And eventually it becomes a prison. And many of us live there without even knowing it. Why? Because we're comfortable. So I ask you today just to think about that. Am I comfortable? Or do I want to expand? Can I expand? We all can, right? But don't get caught in that comfort zone. And Steve talked about how it can just lull us in and think that things are okay. And then you get to the end of your life and you're like, I wish I would have done that. I wish I would have done that 10 years ago or wherever it may be. Then we went on to day 2. I'm glancing back at my notes for you guys. Day 2, we talked about thoughts and how thoughts become things, right? What we think about creates our feelings that we have. Think about something sad, we have sad feelings. Something happy, happy. Something exciting, exciting. Just think about it when you see that on the news, a movie, when you're with your kids. That's what happens. Thoughts create feelings, what puts us in a vibration, either energetic and happy and a good vibration, or that, down, sad, depressed, I'm a victim mentality frequency. And then whatever frequency we are in, think about it, it tells us how to act. When you're sad, you're not going to do the same types of things when you feel good and confident about yourself. Or when you're feeling down and out and bad about yourself or what you have or can bring, your actions are going to correlate with that. And then our actions create our results. And whatever we put out there, well, the law of cause and effect states that for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction coming back to us. Therefore, whatever you put out, you get back in return. It's the law of the universe. It can be no other way. Just like the law of gravity or the law of electricity. If anyone sticks their finger in a light socket and the house is wired correctly and the power is on, they're going to get shocked. No matter who you are, it doesn't operate any different for me than it does for you. It's just the way it is. If I jump off my roof, I'm going down. I'm not going up. Same for you. The law of cause and effect What we put out into the world, we get back, is a law as strong as the law of gravity or the law of electricity. You see, we create our futures by what we think. And Steve talked about imagination a little bit yesterday. And there is a quote by Napoleon Hill that says, imagination is the most marvelous, miraculous, inconceivably powerful force the world has ever known. You see, everything that you see in this world, everything in your life is created twice. First, in the imagination. It has to be a thought before it can become a thing. Be that technology, a new invention, the shirt you're wearing, right? Think about in your own life. If you're in a partnership or married, before you had that first date, that was in your mind, right? You had to think about doing it and going out. It happens for everything in your life. A new job, buying a home, everything is a thought before it becomes a thing. Imagination is powerful. We need to use it for good. Many of us use it to terrorize ourselves and worry and conjure up things that never happen in our lives. You need to watch that. Your conscious mind needs to say, hey, we're not going there. The chances of that happening are slim to none, and why should I even think about it? Don't think about it. Do what you can with what you have, where you're at, and move forward in the direction you want to go. And then Steve talked a lot yesterday about self-image, how we feel and believe ourselves to be, what our self-talk is. When you talk to yourself, is it positive? Is it uplifting? Is it confident? Is it knowing that you are a spiritual being having a human experience, and therefore you're tapped into all the gifts the universe has to offer? They're all inside of you. So your image should be 100 times bigger than it is right now for each and every one of us, because we are truly powerful beings. We just have to focus and to allow ourselves to dream where we want to go, and we can get there. So today, as we finish up the 3-day webinar, Steve's going to be discussing the power of decision. You see, you have the option to make today day one of the rest of your life, because it truly is. But you can start today and say, you know what, moving forward, I'm going to actually think about what I accept and I allow into my life. And if it's not going to take me in the direction I want to go, I'm going to use that word, that small word, no. And no, for some of you, you need to hear this. It's a full sentence. No. You don't have to give a long explanation. So many of us get stuck in that. Well, I have to justify why I said no. No, you don't. In your mind, ask the question, is this going to take me closer to that goal of where I want to take my life in the future? Or is it going to pull me further away? If it's further away, no, thank you. And that's enough. So let's learn today from Steve how the power of decision can help you take your life in the direction that you want to go. And here Steve is now to start.
Hey, well, welcome back, everyone. And again, I want to express our sincere gratitude and thanks for your taking the time out of your busy schedules to spend an hour each day with us. And I'm hopeful that you're taking away some solid information and notes that are going to help you look at things a bit differently, but really more importantly, help you move in the direction of your goals and dreams. So, with that, today is decision. I'm going to share my screen. Everything should be good and in order. And what I want to talk about today is the power of making a decision. Oops, I'm sorry, I went too far. Susan mentioned today can be one day or day one. That's been a common theme throughout this 3 days. And it's so powerful because, as we said before, a particular date like January 1 does not hold any exclusive right to say that's a day that I'm going to pick in order to start whatever the goal is you're shooting for. And as I said yesterday, if your thought is, I'm going to do X, and there's an and there, I'm going to start tomorrow, or I'm going to start on Monday. I'm going to get through this weekend, and then I'm going to hit it hard on Monday. I'm telling you, and I'm going to tell you from personal experience, you've already fallen back. You're already on the losing side of the agenda because thinking that way sets into motion that we can continue to push it off. That procrastination permeates our thoughts, and therefore our goals never happen. I mentioned a while back, I think on day one, that an inventor can spend 999 times trying to build some type of an invention, and it fails each time. But on the 1,000th time, it happens. And all of a sudden, that person is an inventor. They're a genius. They've attained their goal. They look back on the journey themselves and say with pride, I figured it out. But nobody had to know that they failed 999 times. And that's the same thing with your goals. Who cares? And I want to say this emphatically, who cares if you've tried and stopped and tried and stopped for a year, 10 years, 20 years, 50 years? It doesn't matter. The one time you finally follow through and it happens and you've done it. There's a universal law, a fundamental law that says you either are creating or you're disintegrating. When it comes to decisions, if you're mired in indecision, you're disintegrating. You're not moving forward. The individuals who challenge and make decisions are end up controlling their life. They end up setting their journey forward and moving in the direction of their goal. But if you're not doing that, if you're not steering your own course, if you're wishy-washy in decision making or you're afraid to make a firm decision, you're just sliding and you're sliding backwards. And that's kind of what we talked about the other day. You set goals beginning of the year, and by resolution quit day, the second Friday, you've already given up. It's because your old habits, your old paradigms, your old thoughts have gone back into control of your life, and nothing has changed. And I said yesterday, if nothing changes, nothing changes. So let me ask you a question. How are you approaching decision making? Do you make decisions purposeful, or do you find yourself wavering and being wishy-washy? Nothing has a greater impact on your life than the outcomes of decisions you make. Nothing. And again, you're in control of your life, so you need to be making the decisions, not somebody else for you. There's a rock band that I've listened to for 40 plus years named Rush. Many of you have heard of it. And in one of their songs, there's a line that says, if you choose not to decide, you still have made a choice. And that's a very poignant phrase from that song. If you choose not to decide, you still have made a choice. Putting off a decision means you've made no decision. So you have made a decision, that is to do nothing. You see, the universe is abundant. It wants us to have everything we desire, but we just need to tap into it. Think about the internet. The internet had always been there. We just never knew how to do it until we tapped into it and figured it out. Man for centuries wanted to fly. They watched the birds of the sky fly, but man told themselves man was never made to fly. But the Wright brothers figured it out, and we began flying. Now we're going into space, into the moon, and perhaps onto Mars. But it's always been there. We just didn't know how to do it. Your goal is there. Your goal is already out there, ready to happen. You just haven't tapped into it yet. But the decisions you make that move you forward are going to move you in the direction of your dreams. So if you catch yourself with the catchphrase such as, well, when this happens, I'll do that, or when that happens, I'll do that. Again, that goes back to yesterday. That's procrastination. That's not making a decision. And I want to have you ask yourself, where am I winning in the decisions I am making? And really take a hard look at that. What decisions do I make? What types of decisions do I make in life where I win, where things happen. Good things come to me. And once you've answered that question, flip it and ask yourself, where do I lack? What decisions do I make that end up lacking, that hold me back, that don't allow me to move forward? That's where we go back to the thoughts. There's something in the thoughts that you're thinking and doing that's holding you back. And that's where we've got to change that thought, change that self image. Don't be afraid of making mistakes. Oh, I can't say this enough. We said yesterday, failures are a part of growth. Making mistakes, it's part of growing. So what? So you made a decision and it didn't work out. The beauty of life is we can chart a new course. We just change directions, we learn from that mistake, and we move in another direction. It's not the end of the world. You're not bankrupting your corporation, you're not bankrupting your life. You're just moving in a different direction. Embrace mistakes as a part of your decision process. Use them as opportunities for learning and development. I said yesterday, growth lives on the other side of fear. So don't be afraid to make mistakes, because if you do, you've moved that much closer to your growth. You've moved further and closer to your dream. Eleanor Roosevelt once said, oops, do something that makes you uncomfortable every day and grow. And I reiterated that the other day where I said, every day I do something that's uncomfortable and I grow. And I look forward to it now, where before I shied away from it, because I know when I've done it, I feel good that I've accomplished it. I made the decision to move forward and I feel good about what I've done. But see, we're settling for mediocrity if we don't make decisions. If we sit back and just kind of hope things play out, or that somebody else is going to come along and tell us how to do it, then we're just going to sit in mediocrity and stay comfortable. But if we embrace the uncomfortable challenges, then progress begins to happen and our personal growth journey moves forward. One of the top things companies looked at, they made a list of all the top reasons that people fail in business. And this is true in life. And the number one reason that people fail was lack of making a decision. I can again speak from personal experience. I had a wonderful boss that I worked for several years ago. In fact, to the point that we were golfing partners and we'd go out and do things on weekends. And he was just a wonderful man, except for one character flaw. He happened to be the division president of the company I worked for, and I reported to him. The knock on him was he could never make a decision, and he couldn't. We would sit in meetings and situations would come down and he would lay out, this is what's happening, and we'd wait for him to tell us, this is what we're going to do. And invariably it came down to almost like saying, hey, whatever you guys want to do is fine with me. And he could have been an amazing executive if he had the fortitude and the confidence to make firm decisions and move forward. He'd gotten that far, but he was not going any further and probably going to slide backwards because of the inability to make decisions. Your multi-million dollar earners, the people that are in the top 1% worldwide, they make firm decisions quickly. They make them quick, firm, and they're very slow to change their mind. It takes a lot to look at a decision and finally make an adjustment. They're very firm in their decisions. They make it and they move on. They don't dwell on it. They don't worry about it. They make it and they move on. That's why they're successful. And that's one of the top traits of the top 1% of people. Those are your 7, 8 plus figure dollar wage earners. They're making decisions every day and they're not giving it a second thought. The impact of decision making is that powerful. And it goes beyond just business. It goes into your wealth, your possessions, your relationships. Your decisions influence every aspect of your life. Make the decision. People's lives, careers, everything resides on their ability to make decisions. Think about this morning when you got up. You may say to yourself, you know, I'm not really a decision maker, never have been, but you're selling yourself short. Every day you get up, you decide what to wear. It may be a small decision, but it's a decision. What to wear, what way to take to work, have breakfast or not have breakfast. What do I do when I get to the office? How do I engage with people? What things do I work on? What do I do after work? What's the plans for the weekend? You're making decisions throughout the day. Now, decisions or reaching towards your goal are bigger decisions, but you have the ability to make decisions. You just don't know it. I love this quote by Napoleon Hill: decisions or lack of decisions are making or breaking everything you desire in your life. Think about it. If you've set goals in the past, you've come up short, you've consistently fallen off of the mark in shooting for your goal, it's because of this right here. The decisions or lack of decisions that you are making, they are making or breaking everything you desire in your life. Don't let your mindset be dictated by circumstance. I jotted down some quotes today as I was sitting here preparing this morning, and one of them I wrote down was to reject all ideas that come from your old conditioning. Your old way of thinking, stop. You want to be a new person. You've set a goal, and we're going to work from that goal. Remember, start acting as if that goal has already occurred. You're acting from your goal, so make decisions from your goal. My goal has happened in my mind. I've already had it happen. It's set. And you say to yourself, how would I make this decision that I'm faced with at that point in my life? And you make the decision from your goal. I also jotted down that make decisions from what the return from not from what the return will be, not from what it costs. Make your decisions from what will the return be for this decision, not what it costs to get there. I said yesterday, whatever monetary sum may be part of your goal, the universe will have it find its way to you. Make your decision in that respect. Don't worry about what it costs. Make the decision. The last thing I wrote down was you don't have to be perfect, but your intent does. The universe knows where you're striving to get to. It knows your intent. Let your intent be perfect. Maybe you're not perfect, maybe not yet, but your intent should be. It should be full of life. It should be absolute in what you're trying to do. Stop infecting yourself with what you don't want syndrome. Focus only on the abundance of what you're looking for. Vince Lombardi was one of the great football coaches in the NFL, and he's been renowned for uh, thousands of quotes over the years. And I always love Vince Lombardi's quotes because they always provoke thought. But when it comes to decisions, decisions are winning. You're making decisions to move towards your goal and win. And Mr. Lombardi said, winning is a habit. Unfortunately, so is losing. It can be very easy to fall back on those old habits and allow them to take control. If you accept losing, you can't win, which is so true. If you're accepting the fact that circumstances are in control and things just don't work out for you, you're accepting losing, and therefore you cannot win. And the most one I like the most is perfection is not attainable. Everybody's trying to be perfect. It's not attainable. But if we chase perfection, we can catch excellence. Very profound statement. Decide to be a winner. Decide that you're going to go for your dream and nothing's going to stop you. I had a friend. His name was Tim. And I say was because unfortunately he passed away several years ago at a very young age. But Tim was the most outgoing, gregarious person you would ever meet. And when you met Tim, in your first 5 minutes, he was your new best friend. I mean, he had that magnanimous personality. He was a good looking guy. He was a ladies' man. And we worked together. I actually hired him. And um, sometimes I rude that, but I hired him. And Tim had the ability to make everybody laugh. Customers loved him. He was a salesman. And I always called him the Michael Jordan of sales because he could sell anybody. I don't care if the price was more than anybody else. People wanted to buy from Tim because they wanted Tim. They wanted to befriend him and be around him. And Tim had this amazing ability to make things happen, but he could never make a decision. And that's a contradiction of statements. But he'd come in my office a lot, and I had a couch in my office, and he'd lay down and put his feet up and put his hands behind his head and go, Eklund, what do you think I should do here? And he'd rattle off some kind of a scenario. That was a daily occurrence. But with Tim, he would have to ask at least 100 people, should I do A or should I do B? And if 99 people said A, clearly. But that last person went, A or B, I could go either way. He was confused. He couldn't make a decision. And that was one of the funniest things about Tim is he could never make a decision. And I used to tell him, Tim, deep down, you know what you want. So just make the commitment, do it, and move on. Quit wasting time. Who cares what everybody else's opinion is? It's for you. The decision you're going to make is for you. He was an amazing guy, and I'm blessed to have known him. But there's three questions I want you to ask yourself. When you're looking to make a decision, ask yourself, what do I want? Why do I want it? And then once you've answered those questions, then go out and do it. Go out and make it happen. That's the most important lesson I learned in all my years of management and working my way through various sales ranks, vice president roles, president of a division. The most important lesson I ever personally learned was making decisions. I can admit in my younger days when I was a new manager, I was a little bit tentative, wanted to make sure I'd thought every scenario through and made the right decision. Didn't want to make anybody upset. But I realized as I got into more years of management, make the decision and move on. Have confidence. I realized that the team around me were looking for a leader that made decisions. And part of that is not everybody's going to agree with it. I'm fine with that. We need to be fine with that. You will make decisions, whatever they may be in your life. Not everybody's going to agree with it. That's okay. As long as you do, that's all that matters. And so my motto became do it now. I said to you yesterday, tattoo that on your forehead, do it now, do it now, do it now. When you come up with an idea, you come up with a decision, don't procrastinate, do it now, put it into motion. I used to tell all of my employees that work for me, part of the reason why I know that I had top performing teams and award winning teams was I empowered every individual to make decisions. I used to sit them down and say, look, every day at work, you're going to make 100 decisions. I'm using a round number, but you're going to make 100 decisions a day. 98 of them are going to be spot on. One of them, could have gone either way. And there's probably going to be one decision we probably should have gone the other direction instead of the one you chose. But you're not going to bankrupt the company. We're not going to be shutting our doors. We're not going out of business. So when we encounter something that we want to change, we'll chart a new course and we'll change it and go another direction. But make the decisions. I trust you. I empower you. And I don't want to sit here having to make decisions for everybody. You know your department. You know what you need. Make decisions. And I can't tell you how many of those employees had talked to me over the years and said, I had managers before say make decisions. And then when we did, we got in trouble. But with you, you lifted us up. You stood by us and you encouraged us. And I've learned by making decisions, I can get things done and not worry about being blindsided by my boss. But I'm also now translating that into my life. I'm making better decisions in my life because I'm comfortable now making decisions. So make the decision. Nothing happens without a decision, so move it forward. It brings order to your day. It brings everything into its proper place and perspective. And everything circles back to results. So if the results aren't there, we make a different decision. The only time you fail is when you don't make the decision and you linger. So I've said a lot about decision making. It's undeniably crucial to your goals, to moving forward. And the interesting thing about decisions, and think about this, they're not taught in school. Nowhere in our educational system, from elementary school through middle, high school, college, even companies, corporations, HR departments, all the training that we have to go through and certifications, there's never been one that I've seen about making decisions. People get moved into management roles. People are hoping that their new manager can make decisions and make good decisions, but nobody really knows. Nobody's trained on it. It's an overlooked part of the curriculum, I believe, in schools. It would be great to start with children at a young age and teach them how to begin to make healthy, informed, smart decisions, but we don't do that. So we learn on the fly. We learn by doing it. We learn through trial and error. But as I said earlier, you're not going to change anything dramatically. So make the decision. And if that has to be changed, go ahead and change it. The more you do it, the easier it gets. The more you practice it, the more proficient you get. Many of you may know of the actor and famous martial artist Bruce Lee. And Bruce Lee was also, like Vince Lombardi, famous for some amazing quotes. But I always liked the one about, I never feared the man who, I fear the man who is not the man who has practiced 10,000 kicks once. I fear the man who has practiced one kick 10,000 times. Again, it's taken that repetition. Repetition is the key to success. Doing it over and over again, honing your skills is going to make you the best at whatever you can. And I talked yesterday about self-image and self-talk. In order to make better decisions, in order to make decisions now that are going to transform your life and move you in the direction of your goal, we have to get rid of the I can't, I won't, it never happens for me. Who was I kidding? What was I thinking? This is bigger than me. Stop all of that. None of that is true. It's just a mantra that you've allowed to live in your head. Yesterday I said there's two rooms in your house, fear and faith. You're visiting the room of fear. Stay in the room of faith. Trust you can do it. Know you can do it. And if you don't believe it, trust in my belief that you can do it. So let's get started. Today, make decisions today. Make them firm. Feel good about your decision. Move forward. Don't worry about it. Embrace it as a positive indicator of I am now moving in the direction of my goal. I'm making progress. I'm going to be successful. Remember, we talked about being 1% better every day. Well, make decisions 1% better today than yesterday, and tomorrow than today, and so on and so on. And over time, you'll be making decisions. You won't be looking back. You'll be making great decisions, and you'll be seeing progress and things coming into your purview that are in support of your goal. Things are going to start to fall into place for you. Accept your decision and accept them into your imagination, embed them into your subconscious mind. This is my path, and this is what I am pursuing. Remember, the last thing I'm going to say is the most important person and the ultimate solution in your life is you, nobody else. If you're looking for affirmation from somebody else, you're allowing them to make the decision. You are the most important person and the ultimate solution. So, recapping what we talked about yesterday with goals, and I want you to use this as a basis for making decisions going forward. I want you to come up with your goal and write it out. Write it out on a piece of paper, put it into your purse or your wallet, and carry it with you. Every time you open that purse or wallet, it's there. I would even go as far as to laminate it so that it stays intact and it's always there to be grabbed. Make a copy and post it somewhere. Post it on your computer. I've got my goals sitting right here off to my left on a different monitor. Post them in your vehicle if you want, on your dashboard. Post them on the mirror in your bathroom. Review those goals all the time. We all have smartphones today. I advocate setting a timer on your smartphone. I do on mine. Every 3 hours, my timer goes off. And in my mind, I start off with, I am so happy and grateful now that, and I recite the goal to myself as it has happened. I live it as it's happened, and I'm acting from that goal. I live it every day as if that goal has already happened, even though I'm progressing towards it. But you remind yourself of it every 3 hours, just for 2 minutes, not a long time. Take a couple minutes, just reflect and think about the goal having happened. How do you feel? How liberating is it? What's happening in your world? What is open and ideas that are open to you that weren't there before? Think about the feeling. What are people saying to you that didn't even know you had this goal that you've reached? They're congratulating you. How are they saying it to you? How does it feel? Live in that moment. Allow yourself to go there, because that puts you on the vibrational thought of that goal you're shooting for, as we talked on day one. So I want you to do this right now. I want you to draw a line in the sand, pick an imaginary beach, and draw a line and say, this is a side of faith, this is a side of fear, and I want you to step over that imaginary line into the side of faith and now believe and live from your goal. And say to yourself, from this moment on, I am attaining my goal and I'm going to become the very best version of myself. and start today. That's the way we get moving. That's the way we start taking charge and changing things in our life. I know we had some Q&As that came up, and I'm going to stop sharing here and bring Susan back. In the Q&A, we had people that wanted some clarity on some things that we'd come up with, so I'm going to let her run with that and take it from there.
Thanks, Steve. Before we go into Q&A, I was just jotted, I was starting a new word, jotted some things down as Steve was teaching us today. And decision, we have to realize that when we're going for our goal, we're either all in or we're out. There's no middle ground. There's no halfway. There's no saying I'm 80 to 90% in, but that's about it. 80 to 90% in and going towards your goal is out. If you need another way to look at that, if you're in a relationship and your partner tells you, oh, I'm 80 to 90% in, I'll be faithful 80 to 90% of the time. What do you think? They're out, right? That's a hard no. You're out. So 80 to 90% in your goal is the same way. Correlate it with that, and it'll make much more sense. You got to be all in. You have to reject everything that's not going to take you to your goal and only accept what is going to get you closer to that final place. See, until something changes in your life, nothing changes. It's the way it is. We have to make a conscious choice to change something, or we're going to stay in the same place. That's the law. John Maxwell has got a great quote, and I just want to share you with that. It says, "You'll never change your life until you change something you do every day. The secret of your success is found in your daily routine." The secret of your success is found in your daily routine. We need to change up something that we do every day, and it'll bring us closer to success. Now, if you go to our website, which is visionfrontcoaching.com, and I've put it in the chat for you on the days that we've been here, and there's also a contact us link that's also in the chat from our website. We have a free handout called Mornings Matter. And it is 5 steps that you can practice every day that you will help you get closer to your goal. They are strategies for success. They are not hard. Everyone can do them. One of them is actually about mindset. And if you practice that every day, it is changing something in your life. It's shaking up that paradigm, that operating system, to let it know that you are on track for something more. You're going somewhere differently, and it just needs to stand by and upgrade, right? Update that system because we're making changes. So with that, I will go into the Q&A, and I have kind of put the questions together because some of them were real similar. And the first question, and we've gotten this before, how long will this take? How much time is required? Everyone's worried about time and how long it's going to take. First of all, if you sign up with us for coaching and mentoring, and we're also going to go into that, it is a 6-month program. Does that mean you're going to get your goal in 6 months? Possible. Probably not probable, because it's supposed to be a huge goal, a huge vision that you dream up for your life. But you will definitely be so far ahead of where you are now. As our mentor said, you'll need a telescope to look back to see where you started, because you'll be in a whole different place. Daily, what does it take? I would say about an hour a day. An hour to listen to the lesson, an hour to do the homework, an hour to look at your vision and rewrite it and spend time in it, because you need to change that paradigm. You need to come from your vision. You're not getting there. You're not getting to your goal. You're coming from it. And that's a whole new way of thinking. And so you need to work on that and you need to instill that into your operating system. So it's like, okay, that's where we're supposed to be. We're not supposed to be here. And so your mind and things happen that get brought to you as you think differently. Steve, do you have anything to add on that?
No, and I think you hit the nail on the head again that we need to come from our goal. Once we've set the goal, live as if it's happened. Even though you're working towards it, living from it, you begin to become that person. You begin to be comfortable living into the type of goal and the type of person you need to become. And that behavior helps set the course for change.
Right. Second question, we'll go on from there. You talked about vision and goal, and I know I just did it before, so someone has caught me on this before. Are they the same thing? They are not the same thing. Your goal is one specific, very specific item that you're going for. It could be an amount of money. It could be a different job. It could be a house on the ocean or a house in the mountains, or it could be, I don't know, a car, relationship, whatever it is specific and it is one thing. Your vision, on the other hand, and we tell you to do both, but your vision is all encompassing. When I talk about vision, I tell people to go to 4 quadrants, right? These 4 quadrants. Your health is part of your vision. What do you want to look like? What do you want your weight to be? Do you want to have vitality and energy? Generally, we all do. You know, healthy body, that's your health. Your second quadrant is your relationships. What do you want in your life for relationships? Are you looking for that one relationship? And this also goes with the relationships with children and with friends and with family. And just build that out. What would your group of friends look like? Who would you hang out with? What would you do? How often do you get together with your family? Do you travel together? All this goes into relationships. The third section, then, I say to look at is your vocation or your avocation if you do philanthropic work, if you're at that point in your life. What do you do? Are you passionate about it? You need to be passionate about what you do. And what does that look like? And where are you? Who are you leading? What are you doing? Anything in vocation, what you do with your time. And it's generally is what we do for our time in order to receive our paychecks and things like that, right? It's how we sustain ourselves in our vocation. And then the last one I say to look at, that last quadrant, when you're looking at your vision, your big picture, is time and money freedom, right? If you had the time to do everything you wanted to do, be it travel, build houses, whatever it could be, the time. A lot of people, it's travel and see the world, right? And see different cultures. And then the money, right? Money, so many people are like, it's a bad word. Money is your freedom. You can do so much good in the world with money than you can if you do not have money. And so it's looked at so negatively by so many people. And it's not the love of money. The love of money is greed. It's what you can do with that money that opens up the world. So if you had all the time and all the money to do whatever you wanted to do in your life, what would that look like? That's a really fun part of the vision because you can say where you'd go and what you would do. And so that is the difference between goal and vision. And when Steve talks about every 3 hours, set your clock, it's your goal that comes into mind, that big goal. And then later on at night or first thing in the morning, if you have time, it's your goal. And then if you have time, your vision, at least once a day, go there and see yourself living that life. Do you want to add anything else, Steve, to that?
No, I mean, I think, we talk about there's a lot of goals. People have varying goals. I think one of the greatest goals anybody could have is financial freedom. And from that, you have the ability to do all of the things we've talked about: philanthropy, travel, time. You can be doing things like Habitat for Humanity. There's so many ventures that come out of that. But whatever your goal is the only thing I can say is it is your goal. It is what you have set for yourself and perhaps for your family. It's nobody else's. So let that goal be yours and don't let others steal your dream.
Yeah. Next question was, what is the difference, another difference between a coach and a mentor? Because we talk and sometimes they're used interchangeably. I mean, and you know, coaches, I mean, a life coach is what we're categorized as. We do more mentoring than coaching. A lot of times coaches, you think of baseball coach, football coach, golf coach, you know, they help with swings and this and that. The coaching, a life coach is different than that. The life coach, Steve and I, we never tell you what you should do. We pull that out of you and we help you know what's on track with what you believe and your core values and where you want to go. We can serve as guide rails and say, do you really want that? What are you thinking and why are you thinking that way? And we can correct errant thinking. And we can share with you the tools and philosophies that we learned from our mentors. I mean, Bob Proctor taught this for 60 years, and we were so blessed to be able to study with him. He died a little over 2 years ago, but what he brought and gave to the world is, you know, it just goes on and on because he mentored so many. And we've studied from other mentors. And what we do is we kind of give you a shortcut because we get to teach you what we learned and what took longer for us. You know, we can give you a quicker version so you get on track. It's sometimes it's why you get a coach, right? I don't want to take 10 years to learn it. I want it succinctly. I want to know now so I can start on my journey. So that is the same thing. It's not you got to do A, B, and C. Like if a nutritionist tells you exactly what to eat, that's not the way we do it. And that's a personal coach. And that's if you're using us personally. Now, when we're in leadership or we work with a corporate team, if you have a team of people or things like that, then basically we're known as consultants, right? We're leadership mentors and consultants. Whether that you're a leader and you want personal coaching for yourself on how to lead your team, or you have a group of people and you have goals at your company generally is, and you're having difficulty bringing them into play. Things aren't going the way you wanted and you want something different. Then we come in and we do corporate consulting. It's all the same information because it's all mindset, but it's getting everyone, when you're working with a group of people, on that same page. It's kind of like linking batteries together. You have one and you have like a group, and if everything's working to that same point, you're going to get there a lot faster. But if you have people on your team that are not working to where you want to go, it's going to undermine your success and you're not going to get there. It's like there's a cancer in your team. There's weeds in your garden. I like to say you got to get rid of the weeds if you're going to work together and really get that goal that you want. So I'll throw it to Steve to see if there's anything he wanted to add.
Well, again, I think that a coach mentor is, we all need one. We work with a high level person ourselves. We collaborate, we share ideas. We do what we call mastermind calls, where it's just kind of a think tank and we're throwing things back and forth and cultivating, but no one person has all the answers. And we help keep you on track. In our 4 months of our course, there are modules and video training that you follow. There are workbooks. We do a recap of it, and we give you in-depth training along with a Q&A session, because invariably people have questions. But we're always available to help give direction. It's not uncommon for me to pick up my phone and text my person I consider a mentor, but just to text him, he's a collaborator, and say, hey, I'm thinking of this. What are your thoughts? Have you done this before or run across this? And we kick ideas back and forth. And I think a mentor coach keeps you in line, keeps you focused, and helps you where you would on your own stray from your goal. They keep you on course so that you don't stray.
Yeah, very true. And it's something That I should say, we have mentors, yes, and we have a primary mentor right now that we work with, and we're also in masterminds. We are continuously learning. There is no end to this journey for either of us. We keep growing and we keep learning, and more things come up. And that's when you start on the journey of doing this. Every time you look at something or you look at coursework or something you've looked at before, you personally are in a different place. You are a different person, and therefore you see more or you see things differently. I also add a caveat here for those working with us. Once you learn the information, and once you're in it for a period of time, it may be 6 months, it could be a year, your blinders come off and you see a lot of things differently than other people in the world. Unfortunately, you can revert back to the way it was in your life, but those blinders will always be off. And you'll always be able, you'll never be able to totally revert back in your mind to not seeing what you know. Ignorance can be bliss. And when we use the words ignorance, it is not knowing. That's all it is. People sometimes get offended by that word. They're saying I'm ignorant. If I say you're ignorant of something, it means you do not know. You do not have the knowledge. That's it. It doesn't go any deeper than that. But this is a continual learning process. And then the last question we had is, and we leave it to the last, is what do I need to do to work with you or to find out more? So there's a link in the chat, which is visionfrontcoaching.com, contact us. And there's a hyphen in there. You could just go to our website, visionfrontcoaching.com. There is a link to sign on to Calendly to get a strategy session with us. It is a free strategy session just to sign up with Zoom. We find out where you're at, what you would like. We tell you a little bit about what we teach. I know Steve said 4 months. It's a 6-month course that we actually have, and there are sections, we break it down. But we are with you every 2 weeks. We are live. You have access to Steve and I through emails. Generally, we get back to you, within 24 hours on an email. There's some people we work with, yes, they text us. Just depending on where you are, what you want, and where you want to be. But we are very involved in our clients' success. We are not hands-off. You're not going to see recordings on webinars when you sign up with us. We may have you watch something, but every 2 weeks, or I should say every 2 weeks, we have a new lesson. Every week you have us live for 6 months, which is generally 1 hour every 2 weeks. And like Steve says, we have Q&A calls in addition to the 12 lessons that we teach. So we go very deep. We make sure your questions are answered because it is our goal for you to bring success into your life. What we want for ourselves, we truly want for everyone else. And that's why we do this work. And that's why we share the information that we have learned and we have been taught. And that is part of our vision, is to share this with the world and to make a difference. Because if one person can be that person that throws the pebble into the pond and starts the ripples of change that we can see, that is our goal. So we want to thank you for being with us for these 3 days. You can check out our next events. They will be posted as soon as the dates go up on visionfrontcoaching.com. You can also check, we do daily videos and things on Vision Front Coaching, on our YouTube channel, on TikTok, on Instagram. You can find us there. But we would really love to meet with you. Book a call with us. There's nothing to lose. It's 100% free. And we would love to speak to you and help you create and design that future you would love. That's all we have for you. Thank you.
Thank you,
For being
everyone. We're
here,
so
and
grateful that you were here.
we'll see you next month. Catch us online. Bye-bye for now.